Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like.
Check out the podcast, also below in the description.
All right, let's talk about something we haven't spent a lot of time on because he has missed the field so much. Dee Ford, it turned out, had a neck, and then Kyle said it's actually a back injury. They restructured his contract before the season, presumably. I know our buddy Chris Biederman tweeted at the time. Feels like maybe this is making room for a Trent Williams extension. They traded a second-round pick for him. They've got – do you have the cap number for next year for Dee Ford? I mean, it's massive.
Was cap number's $21 million, but the dead cap's $14.
Ugh. So this – I think we can say definitively the Dee Ford deal is an L. And is there any way to save it?
Is it a double L? Because the original deal was an L when they acquired him, and then doubling down has devastating consequences. Devastating might be strong, but has real consequences.
Significant. Yeah, real. That's a good way to put it.
Significant.
Real significant.
I just think anytime that you make deals, I think it works in life, but it works in sports with trades. I think trades and free agent acquisitions out of desperation, they tend to fuck you, right? I really think we see it all the time. We've seen it for years in the NBA. In the NFL, it happens a lot with free agency. In the last handful of years, it happens with trades. When you think you're desperate at a position and force a need, sometimes it can really backfire on you. And I think the Niners, they were so desperate for a pass rush, and they did this deal 2 years ago. A month later, they got Nick Bosa. And then throughout that year, they realized Eric Armstead was good. And then a year later, they have Javon Kinlaw on their team. They could have just found Dee Ford for a quarter of the price and not given up a second-round pick and had more money to play with. And then I understand why they did this as long as they keep Trent Williams on their team. If Trent Williams has a good season and is not on the 49ers and you did this to clear up cap space, it is a problem. Because what then are they doing? They're looking for a left tackle. What does that mean? Left tackles aren't cheap. You're either going to have to draft one high, or I don't even know. You can't find one. They don't exist, right? There's never like Trent Williams just out there in free agency. Look at the top guys. They usually get traded because they're like not at like a Laramie Tunzel type situation. The Eagles, when they got Jason Peters once upon a time, they just don't. Joe Staley never.
Trent Brown became highly paid. He played right tackle, got hurt, but was playing right tackle for the Raiders. And their left tackle they drafted high.
Who's that?
Colton Miller.
Yeah. I think it's pretty clear you want to get a good tackle, you got to draft him high, right? Trent Williams, once upon a time, I think was the 4th pick in the draft. The Eagles, Lane Johnson, once upon a time, was the 4th pick in the draft. Like, those guys just go – top tackles go really high. I think the Niners were just in a predicament. Again, assuming that they're going to sign this guy – if you're going to sign this guy, I can understand it. Not because I won't disagree with it, because you wouldn't have had any cap. You wouldn't have been able to do it, right? Part of it is giving the guy a bonus immediately, and there's just cap implications that the Niners didn't have any big money guys. Their big money guy legitimately just signed Eric Armstead. Fred Warner hasn't signed a contract yet. McGlinchey's on a rookie deal. Warner's on a rookie deal. Sherman's an unrestricted free agent after this year. And you made a good point about the quarterback. Before when
you didn't want to restructure his deal because his deal it's free and easy at this point. You don't want to box yourself into a spot where you don't want to be, where maybe you do want, not that we think they're going to do this, but if you right now you have flexibility with Jimmy, you could move on from him if you wanted to. Don't box yourself in, and they didn't. So
the key for this not to be disastrous, though, guys, just predicated on Trent Williams signing. You basically we took the bullet for Trent Williams. I think you can live with it. If Trent Williams, you're not able to get a deal done, you got problems, right?
I want to make 2 points. Number one, as it relates to Trent Williams, and I'm not saying this as a joke or to be funny or flippant, whatever. If you can get a deal done with Trent Williams, money he agrees to, money you think is good value, we've seen the Niners consistently, even though we don't love this Dee Ford deal, we think they do good value deals, then you do the deal. Stop. That said, I don't think all the injuries that we've seen in the NFL this year are accidents. I do think this is partly because of the no preseason. Some of this is the turf for the Niners, potentially, but like Saquon got hurt on grass. I've said it for months. It happened after the lockout. Injuries went way up because of the weird offseason, and I don't think this is an accident. So I would be concerned about every player on every team. I am concerned about every player on every team making it through the season. I'd be a little skittish about giving someone an extension early in this year, given the injuries that we've seen. Again, that said, I would still do it for this guy because I don't want to get to free agency with Trent Williams. So I would do it. Number 2, could I do a where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong on this 49ers trade? Like, they were right to identify 2019 was going to be a big year for them. Let's go in. And like you said, they didn't even have Bosa yet. But they were right to know, like, we're going in the right direction. Let's do something kind of risky here. Get Dee Ford. If this hits, it's going to pay off because we think we're going to be a good football team. So they were right about it, but they picked the wrong guy. And then they extended him when they got him, and then they did the deal again to restructure, which we get. But just in the moment, I understood in retrospect they were right to take a swing because they did get good. He played 11 games. And I don't know this year. I mean, is he going to play another game for them this year? I don't. What do you can't say that you think he is.
I think there's a decent chance we never see Dee Ford again. Kyle Shanahan said on Monday, turns out it's not his neck, it's his back. And again, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, I don't think they have my number, but I could have given them some intel. The Chiefs, they were selling that stock. And I'm of the belief I have no problem taking good players from bad teams, right? Khalil Mack, Jamal Adams, Jalen Ramsey. I am a little concerned when the Ravens, when the Steelers, when Andy Reid, when Sean Payton goes, yeah, you can have this guy who's a Pro Bowler.
And 27 years old in his prime.
We saw that consistently with Brandon Cooks. Like, what is up? And Belichick and Payton are like, take him. Like, again, I like doing deal with Mike McCagden, with the dude in Jacksonville, with the Jets, with shitty teams. I'm not that comfortable doing a deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know, man. Now, I get it. In theory, speed rusher, their scheme, it was like the perfect fit. But the thing with the Chiefs, and he didn't practice. His injuries were like they didn't think he could last. And one thing was clear. Not only didn't last, he's barely played for the Niners, right? Was in and out of the lineup all last year, and now shell of himself week 1, and it already feels by week 3 he didn't play week 2, and I don't know. I think there's a decent chance. Like, I would put it above 50%. We never see Dee Ford take another snap. I think it's fair to throw that out there.
Yeah.
There were rumors. Again, I don't know if it's Reddit rumors, but retirement. And just based on Kyle's, like, anytime it's a back, not a good thing, right? You can't play. Like, remember when J.J. Watt had the back thing? My take was like, I'm selling J.J. Watt. It turns out he's just this all-time guy. Like, he's just going to look like Gronk at every body part and still be solid. I don't know how he's doing it. But wouldn't you say J.J. Watt now with the knees in the back is an all-time outlier? Most defensive linemen just fall off a cliff once they have, like, a major back neck type injury. It just ends them.
Yeah.
You can't play.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've paid him a lot of money, guy.
Would you hesitate on Trent Williams? Go back to my first point, or would you just do the deal if you could do it?
My pushback, though, is on that. I think there would be some urgency right now with Trent kind of looking around, going, holy shit.
Maybe
these guys are dropping like flies. I've been injured before, right? I've had an injury. I think he had a cancer scare on top of that, remember? Where you go, if I can just get Laramie, I can get set for life now, and I already am because he's already made huge money, but I can get a deal on paper to just set me on this team, which assuming he likes being here, and we haven't heard anything, and clearly the Niners like him, and he's been there. Guy, he's arguably been their best player. I mean, he's just wrecking shop. You just probably sign the deal. And I think if you're the Niners, if you can get a quote-unquote discount, because it's football. Like, he could just go down in the Rams game or whatever game, and at the day, you sign him that week, and it's not because the preseason. Because I was thinking about this. I said on the 3 and Out podcast, I think right now the notion, and I got all my DMs are full up. Middle Cop, do you think it's the preseason? Well, guy, we've been talking about this for several years now. The majority of teams are not even fucking playing their top players in the preseason. Like, Saquon Barkley more than likely would not have played a snap in the preseason. Now, if the pushback is the injuries are because there wasn't a normal offseason, so the typical from like March till middle of June, like that ramp up period. Then guys can just maintain for that month over the summer and then hit the ground running. I'll buy that, but I'm not buying preseason games. Remember, Rodgers, I don't think took a snap last year. McVay hasn't played any of his guys in the preseason in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, not every injury is tied to it. I do buy it. I was texting
the preseason games.
Well, just the whole thing. Like, I do buy
I'll buy the offseason.
Yeah, but I buy the whole thing together. Like, I was DMing with a strength and conditioning coach who said he works for a company that does like outsourced work for contract work for colleges and athletes and stuff. And he was saying internally we all thought stuff was going to happen because he referenced something called like the what did he call it? Let me look at my DM here. Training load. He's like, it's not just the practice work, it's the getting ready to do. Because I don't think his premise is like you can't really fake game intensity on your, like the impact on your body in practice. And so there is just this natural buildup where you play a series in the first preseason game, you play 3 series in the third one, you play a half in the second one, or in the third one.
But that hasn't been taking place, guys.
Yeah, not everybody does that. Saquon doesn't do it, but plenty of players still do that. And just the preparation on your body to get to play a game for 4 weeks, right? Now, not every guy prepares for 4 weeks. Some of them prepare for 2 weeks, and they don't even play in those games, but they do the build-up stuff. He just thought there was a lot of stuff that you don't do that is normally just good for the body.
Some good recon by Haberman.
Yeah, and like I said, a listener of the podcast, Justin, and like I said, the evidence after the lockout was that injuries went up. So I don't think all of this stuff is all the same. Clearly, guys just get hurt playing the sport, right?
Well, because I don't think we talk about this as much because we don't feel like the OTAs, right? I think that is an underrated period of just training with your teammates. There's got to be an intensity training with all the linebackers. We go to these practices, and then after they do little lifting pods, if you're Fred Warner or Luke Kuechly or whoever, and you're just training with your guys, there's an intensity than just like, I'm just a linebacker for Seattle, and Guy Haberman's my trainer, and we're just one-on-one. Ain't the same, right? And on top of that, you're doing it with football activities, but it's not then we just go out there with Haberman, you're setting some cones for me to do some drills. I'm legitimately doing football practice, right? To me, that is probably an area that's a long period of time, right? Everyone checks in right around free agency, all the players start, and then it goes well after the draft. That's like 3 months of like legit hard training, especially the way they do it now. Phase 1 and 2 is like just all training, right? With your teammates, and which is other NFL guys that just can't be the same of just me and 3 other dudes training in the gym.
Yeah, aren't there some coaches, John, who feel like the fact that they hit less makes guys more apt to get injured once the games start? Well, since they hit less in practice, probably the same kind of theory.
Yeah, that's why Andy, I know, has always believed in like the boxing mindset. Like Chiefs still do run a physical practice of just the thuds and just building up the calluses on your body.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like you said, there is no way to replicate, even in boxing, showing up and legit boxing the guy without the headgear on for 12 rounds, or even UFC or whatever. Same with football. There is no way to replicate. Now, you could argue a preseason game is if the ones are in, you're replicating it as close as possible,
yeah,
right?
You just get maybe a little nerves, a little adrenaline, something that doesn't happen to you on Wednesday.
Yeah. But my pushback on that is I do think there's been a growing percentage of the money guys, which usually equals the star players,
right.
They've been in sweats for those games.
Yeah, you're right. Saquon wasn't going to do it anyway. And Saquon got hurt on grass, and Saquon might have just was good. Maybe Saquon was going to get hurt.
Bears historically questionable field, but he did get hurt in like two times, like 3 plays.
Well, he
tore his
ACL
wrist right after he tweaked his ankle.
Yes, I thought he went down. He went down 3 times on like 1 drive or 2 back-to-back drives. Anyway, none of this applies to Dee Ford because this has been a reoccurring issue there.
He's just hurt.